We have more people on the dole now than we had before the pandemic. That's the reason there's never a waiter when you go out for dinner. Councils still find dodgy ways to spend the $3 billion we pay in rates each year.
This skills crisis isn't getting any better.
We just had a big skills summit that was meant to fix everything. The Chamber of Commerce and Industry says we need 55,000 more workers. Businesses are forgoing $1.5 billion in earnings because they can't get enough staff, and that's $146,000 for every company registered in WA. It's an interesting statistic. Here's another one. On the 10th of September, there were this many West Australians on JobSeeker. Another 10,000 were on youth allowance. That's for people under 22, mainly students.
That's a lot of people not working.
What's even more perplexing is this. We have more people on the dole now than we had before the pandemic, even though there are more jobs now than before the pandemic. On February 28, 2020, that's when we learnt there was a place in China called Wuhan. There were a bit over 84,000 people on New Start, which is what we used to call JobSeeker, which is what we used to call the dole. We have 14,000 more people in this state unemployed now, even though today just about anyone with a heartbeat can get a decent job.
So it doesn't add up. Who's not working?
They are the classic dole bludger. And before everyone goes off their tits about how I'm shaming people who don't have jobs, let's be very clear, we're not talking about the long-term unemployed. This isn't about the 34,000 West Australians who have been without a job for more than 5 years. That's a totally different kettle of social problems. I'm talking about Paxtons. People who can work, but just don't want to.
Why do I have to get out of bed?
And on that point, the stats don't lie. Before COVID, we had 11,916 people who were on the dole for less than 2 years, short-term unemployed. When COVID hit, that number went up and then started settling back down as the world didn't end. It didn't settle back down at 11,916 though. It settled here. 12,000 West Australians who were working before COVID hit, who went on JobSeeker because they lost their jobs, have simply not gone back to work, even though there are more jobs out there now than were out there in February 2020. They have decided they would prefer to stay on the dole. That's the reason there's never a waiter when you go out for dinner.
Where have you been? How long are you going to keep us standing here?
And when you can find one, they're busier than Helen Perrottet's uterus.
That's one way to fix the worker shortage.
Skills crisis is a serious problem. The Premier of Western Australia knows it, and he knows we need to act immediately, saying these shortages will worsen and continue to act as an impediment to economic growth in Western Australia unless we move now. The Premier who said that wasn't Mark McGowan. It was Peter Dowding. He said it on the 30th of January 1988. He actually said it before he was Premier. He was still a minister at the time. This has always been an issue for WA. The West Australian newspapers' archives are full of these warnings. How about this? Australia's resources sector is facing a major skills shortage due to a lack of investment. That was Julia Gillard in 2008. West Australians face the renewed prospect of soaring prices and shortages of tradesmen. Sound familiar? That was October 26, 2010.
It's like we're stuck in a time loop.
We're in a boom-bust economy. It's always been the way. By the time we need people, when things are going gangbusters, it's too late. It's too late to do anything about it. It takes 3 to 4 years to get a tradie up to speed, which means we need to train them when things are not going gangbusters, which is the downturn. Even if we did that, which we won't, because when things are bad, we never think they'll be good again, we can't predict what skills will be needed. To do that, you'd need to know what commodities markets are going to do 4 years before they do it. And you'd need to persuade a teenager to go and get skills today when nobody wants them on the promise that someone someday might want them. And then you'd need to convince a chief executive in a downturn to look past their own tenure as boss, to spend money training workers who aren't needed now, but might be needed in the future.
It's outrageous, egregious, preposterous.
Which is why today's brickie shortage is the same one we had in 2018, 2014, 2004, 2003 and 1999, which is when I started writing about this problem.
How many council elections have you written about?
None, actually, which is exactly the number I've also voted in. I'm a bad citizen. I'm one of the 60-70% of people who didn't vote in local government elections on Saturday. I didn't vote, but like everyone else, I'm still going to bitch and moan about decisions made by my local council, like getting rid of Verge cleanups. Seriously, what are we going to do with all the fitness gear we stored in COVID?
There's always a cross-trainer on the verge.
Local councils are not just about the bins, of course. They are making all sorts of decisions, including about our health. Vincent wants to ban tobacco sales. Cottesloe bans smoking on beaches. City of Nedlands is considering a ban on fireplaces. Melville wants to ban childcare centres on Leach and Canning highways because of exhaust fumes. They're worthy public health initiatives for the most part. But they also ban dumb stuff. Kwinana and Freo have banned balloons. Victoria Park tried to ban Eagles matches at Lathlane Park because of the traffic. City of Subiaco tried to ban tree swings. Coburn tried to ban sprinkles on ice creams. Esperance wanted to ban people from burying their pets in their backyards, which was particularly dumb because the pet cemetery was closed and there were no crematoriums in town. Victoria Park tried to ban yoga. That's all titillatingly dumb stuff, but there's some seriously dumb stuff there as well. And even though they're governed by 80 state government acts and 500 regulations, councils still find dodgy ways to spend the $3 billion we pay in rates each year. Ravensthorpe didn't notice that its CEO had allegedly spent $55,000 of ratepayer funds on a sex worker. Last year, councillors at Albany were forced to take pay cuts, so they gave themselves a one-off COVID bonus to make up for it. We get crap councils because we're too lazy to elect good ones.
Okay, so what do we do?
Make it compulsory to vote in local government elections. That'd raise the bar of expectation. We're forced to show up for state and federal polls, so why not local ones? And it's another chance for a democracy sausage, assuming they're not banned by the council health Nazis. Now there's a skills crisis. I'm Ben Harvey. For more Up Late, click the subscribe button below.